Welcome back to For the Record. Today we're doing the first reaction of 2025 and we're reacting to Open Wide by Inhaler. This is their third album. It has 13 songs on it and it's about 48 minutes. If you don't know who Inhaler are, they're an Irish band consisting of 4 people. We have Elijah, we have Bobby, we have Ryan, and we have Josh. And fun fact, Elijah's father is Bono of U2. So I like to bring that fact out whenever I can because I think that's pretty cool. I don't really know what U2 sounds like, to be quite honest. But I do know that a few years ago, or like a long time ago, they downloaded their album onto everybody's Apple Music, which I think is absolutely hilarious. That's so funny. But anyway, I played Inhaler for my mom quite a few times because I love Inhaler, and I've been getting back into them with these new singles that they've put out for this album. And she tells me that they sound like Elijah sounds a lot like his father when he sings. I can't disagree, or I can agree, because I don't know what Bono sounds like. But let's just get right into it with the first song. It's called Eddie in the Darkness. That was the opening track. I really enjoyed that song. I like the build in it. It started off like kind of like quiet and slow, and then like the chorus. Oh my god, the chorus was so good, so catchy. So before this album was released in its entirety, there was 4 singles, and 3 of them are up next. There was Billy Yeah Yeah Yeah, which is track number 2, Your House, track number 3, and A Question of You, track number 4. And then the other one that was a single was Open Wide, the title track. So let's get into another song with the name and the title, Billy Yeah Yeah Yeah. That was Billy Yeah Yeah Yeah. That is my favorite single out of the 4 that they've released. I love that song, and the beginning of it reminds me a lot of a Scott Helman song. If you don't know who Scott Helman is, he's a Canadian, like I don't want to say superstar, but he's very famous here in Canada. And I feel like probably a lot of other places don't know who he is because of CanCon. CanCon, if you don't know, it's basically Canadian content laws where a certain percentage of everything that's aired in Canada has to be Canadian. So on the radio, it has to be Canadian sung, Canadian produced, Canadian written, or Canadian like instruments. Because of that, a lot of Canadian artists only get airtime in Canada, and that's why like so many Canadian artists are so popular, but they don't get talked about a lot outside of the States unless it's like The Weeknd or Shawn Mendes or Justin Bieber, right? In my mind, Scott Helman is like insanely famous, but he's really not. He's still a small artist just because of Canadian content laws, and they play him a lot because he's Canadian. Another example of CanCon, there's this artist called Jordan, but it's spelled like JRDN. So I don't know if you say it like that or you say it like Jordan. I don't know. He has 2 songs, one called You Can Have It All and one called like Magic. Those songs were like staples of my childhood. Like they're on the radio all the time. And then I looked them up I was looking up singers from Halifax or from Nova Scotia. He popped up, so I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. I never knew he was Canadian. He's like super, super famous, and he's from Halifax. You Can Have It All has 3 million streams on Spotify, and like Magic has 1. And I was like, oh, that's absolutely insane. This man like was so famous in my childhood, and these songs played a major part, but they have less than like, I would have thought 100 million streams for sure. Anyway, so I forget what I Oh, the beginning of Billy Yeah 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 reminds me of a Scott Helman song. I don't know. I can't think of what song it is. Maybe it's like kind of complicated. I don't remember. I love Billy Yeah Yeah Yeah. That's such a good song. So now we have Your House, track number 3. So that song was the first single for this project. Came out last year. Actually, this was one of my favorite songs of last year. I talked about it in my top songs of 2024 video that I posted like 2 months ago. I posted it late December. I talked about this song. And one thing I talked about was the choir in it and how much I liked it, which is kind of like opposite of what I usually like in music. That's not to say I don't like choir sounding music, but I think sometimes it can sound a little bit cult-like. Like, there's this song by Jeremy Zucker called Oh Mexico. It's the final song on his project Love Is Not Dying. My favorite album, like, ever made. But I think the ending of that song ruins it. Because there's, like, this, like, weird, like, angelic kind of choir sound at the end of it. And I don't like that. I've always said that would be a 10 out of 10 album if it didn't end that way. Because Oh Mexico is the last song. And the entire album ends with that weird, like, sound. It's always like a 9.5 for me because of the ending. But I do like choir sometimes. Sam Henshaw, very, very good example of a use that I like of it. He often has church choirs in his music. He's a song called Church. That's how I found him. And then Your House has a choir in the background, and I love it. I think it like adds so much to the song. It's so good. Also, for Your House is a video. And I don't know if there's like meaning behind it or like hidden symbols or whatever, but like, so basically Elijah, the main singer, was in a briefcase, like being swung around and tossed about by this woman holding the briefcase. And as I was watching, I was like, oh my God, he's getting covered in cuts and bruises. Thinking back to their last album, Cuts and Bruises, I was like, oh my God, maybe it's a connection. It's probably not, but that's just what I was thinking. Anyway, Your House, love it. Next song is A Question of You. It was A Question of You, back again with the choir at the end. Love it, perfect. Love that. That is one of my top stream songs of this year. And actually, Inhaler is my 4th most streamed artist of this year, right behind Arthur Hill at number 3. Has an EP coming out on Valentine's Day, and since I don't have anyone on Valentine's Day, I'll be listening to Arthur Hill, so he's got my back. Love you, King. Then we have The Weeknd at number 2, and then Sam Fender is actually number 1. And he's already at like 7,000 minutes or something, which is a lot for being a month and a half into the new year. But can only go up from there. I have a feeling Sam Fender is going to hit 30,000 minutes of music this year, especially since he has his album coming out so early in the year. So I'll have 10 months to listen to it, which is exciting. So back to Inhaler. This next track is the shortest on the album. It's 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So these songs are pretty good lengths. This is called Even Though. That was such a good song. I think this is a very, very strong start to this album. And I've heard some discourse online, on TikTok, of people saying this album is not as good as their last two. I'm always going to be a Cuts and Bruises fan. That has Now You Got Me. That's like my favorite Inhaler song ever. That song is so good. But this album is already so good too. And a lot of people are saying that, oh, they've moved away from the alt rock kind of energy and moved into pop rock. Who cares? I'm also not really hearing a lot of that. Maybe in like Billy Yeah Yeah Yeah, I can hear that a little bit. It's more pop feeling. But it's still the Inhaler that we love. Like, who cares if your favorite artists try to shift genres a little bit? It's fine, as long as they're putting out good music, which Inhaler is still doing. Next song is called Again, so let's listen to it now. Let's go at this again. I don't know why, but that song reminds me of a Coldplay song. Like, I think it's like the way that Eli sings it in some parts. It just reminds me of like old Coldplay. I don't know why. I don't know if anyone else hears that the way that I do. But also that song was like a lot like lighter than their other songs. Like, it wasn't as heavy in the instruments, I thought. I liked it though. It was good. So now we have the 7th track and the title track, Open Wide. Let's give it a listen. Come on, baby, take a look. Back when that song came out, I posted my reaction like a short, and there was a comment on it where this guy said, or this person said, Open Wide is better than Your House. And in the video I said, Your House is better than Open Wide. I'm going to stand by my opinion in saying Your House is better. Open Wide, though, is always stuck in my head. Always stuck in my head. I keep finding myself singing it, like, just throughout the day. So, to that guy, if you see this, Open Wide is a good song. But I listen to Your House a little bit more. Anyway, next is called All I Got Is You. Let's listen. This is a great song. So as I'm listening to these, I'm watching the lyric videos, and I think it's so cool that it seems like each one is done in a different place. So there's one in Chicago, shout out Danny Gonzalez. There was one in, that one, All God Is You, was in Australia, shout out to Half of the Boys, Josh Mully, Kings. This was in Brighton, which I think is in England. I don't know. I've never been to England. I would love to go to England someday. I assume there's been some in Ireland, like some videos. I don't know. I think it's so cool that they're all done in different places. Anyway, this song is called Still Young. So at the beginning of that song, was not loving it. The ending was so good, so much better than the beginning part. Like when it like stops for a second and then kicks back in, I'm like, yep, I'm in. Right at the ending, so good. That, although I do think it is my least favorite so far. We have 4 tracks left. This is the 4th last track, The Charms. Again, like Still Young, beginning didn't really have me hooked. Then the guitar at the end, oh my god, that was so satisfying. That's so good. So, next song is X-Ray. I'm feeling good. Gotta power through the last 3 songs, and I'm loving it so far. So, let's move on to X-Ray. Okay, that was a really good song. That's like sitting top 3 for me right now. I love that song. This is the second last song. It's called Concrete. Okay, that was a very good song. It sounded very like timeless, if you know what I mean. Like a lot like Sam Fender's music, where it sounds like it's older. And I mean, People Watching sounds exactly like that one other song that I can't think of the name of right now, but that sounds like it would be very popular on TikTok, but it's a song from like 40 years ago, you know what I mean? Like it sounds like it's made a comeback. It sounds like very timeless and classic. I like it. Next and final song is called Little Things. Is that a One Direction reference? Probably not. But that's what it made me think of. So, final song, 3:15. Let's listen to it. Just as I had expected, not a One Direction reference. Obviously, why would it be? That was a really good ending to this album. Final thoughts on this project. Very strong start, very strong ending. The middle, it was okay. Like Still Young didn't really get me. The Charms didn't really get me until the end. But beginning, good. Ending, great. I think top 3 songs for me: Eddie in the Darkness, Billy Yeah Yeah Yeah, and X-Ray. X-Ray was so good. But that is the end of this for today. I love Inhaler. I've been a fan of them for 2 years now. I found them because they were doing a show with Sam Fender. Didn't see that show. Obviously, I'm not in the UK. But when Sam was like advertising that, I was like, oh my god, who's this band? Clicked play, fell in love. But I don't really know a ton about Ireland. Like I know a fair amount about the UK. I know that part of Ireland is part of the UK and then the rest isn't. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I don't really know a ton about Ireland. It'd be cool to go. Actually, I recently was at a party or like a family gathering or whatever, and I'm not very social. I like my space. I don't like people in my space, okay? So, to prepare for this party, I downloaded some things on Netflix, brought my headphones, sat on the couch, put the headphones on, clicked play on one of the documentaries I downloaded, and it was called The Miami Show Band Massacre. They were an Irish band. 3 of them got killed, and it was a very interesting documentary. I recommend it if you haven't seen it. Anyway, back to a happier note. Great album. That being said, I will see you in the next video. Go listen to some good music. Go listen to Inhaler. Open Wide, this album is good. Cuts and Bruises is good. And I cannot remember what their first project was called, but that was good too. I'm, as I said, a Cuts and Bruises type of lady. I love that album. So good. Anyway, I will see you later. Bye for now. Have a good day, guys.